Welcome to the NCDWI Guide podcast, where defenders of the Constitution assemble to prepare for courtroom battle and firm owners gather to develop marketing strategies that will revolutionize the practice of criminal defense. Here's your host, the NCDWI guy, Jake Minnick.
Hello, fellow freedom fighters, and welcome to episode 166 of the NCDWI Guy podcast. On today's episode, we are talking about developing your one-page personal plan. Back on episode number 68, almost 100 episodes ago, we talked about the business one-page strategic plan. This is based on the one-page strategic plan that has been produced by Scaling Up. And today, before you get too deep into this episode, I'm encouraging you to go and download the EOS Personal Family Vision and Traction Statement. This is done by EOS. The link is in the notes. It's in the description of the episode. So go download that tool, because I think that as I'm kind of walking through that, you'll have a better way of being able to utilize that. So go download that tool. But today we're talking about developing and planning for a life of significance. We all want to lead significant lives that are full of meaning, full of value, purpose-driven lives. That's what we are all geared for. And so the reason for the timing of this specific episode is twofold. One is that this week is Judges Conference week. And so generally speaking, this is when a lot of us district court lawyers tend to take vacations. I am on vacation this week. This is when a lot of people have time to kind of step back from the craziness and chaos of running from one county to the next, constantly putting out fires, returning calls. This is one of those weeks that if you're in the office, it's a great week because it's a down week. And if you're on vacation, hopefully you're enjoying the time with family, or the time to catch a breath. But it was during a vacation early in practice that I read the E-Myth by Michael Gerber, life-changing, practice-changing, business-changing book. And so I do think that having time on vacation, time away from the madness that is running from one county to the next, really is a great time to detach, to step back from the busyness of your practice, and obviously evaluate your business. But more importantly, and what we're going to be talking about today, it's a time to step back and evaluate your life, to step back and evaluate where your actions are driving towards. What ultimately are you working towards as you develop as a human being, obviously as a lawyer, but more importantly as a human being. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and that's why it's so important to have a one-page personal plan. The one-page personal plan is something that everybody at the office, the entire team, completed one of these a couple of years ago. We went through it on one of our weekly huddles, because I just think it's such an important exercise to step back and really try to look at what your vision of the future is. What is the vision that you have for yourself in 10 years? What is the vision that you have for your family in 10 years? Because this is the most important stuff that we are driving towards. Our business, all of the work that we're putting in time-wise at the office, in the courtroom, really should be building something, whether that is building, us as better human beings, supporting financially the efforts and energies that we want to use to take care of our families, to build a better community. All of these things are important in terms of why a one-page strategic plan is so valuable and worth spending the time to think through. The other reason, so reason number one is it's Judges Conference Week for this particular episode, but reason number two is that it is this month, June, that we celebrate the feast of Thomas More. And I have done a number of episodes on Thomas More in the past. If you want to go back and take a listen to any of those, episode number 10, A Man for Our Season. Episode number 82, I had federal judge Robert Conrad, Honorable Conrad, on to discuss his book on Thomas More and Thomas Fisher, keeping their souls while losing their heads. So that's episode number 82. And then episode number 114, Lawyers Need Heroes. And I spent a good portion of that episode also talking about Thomas More. But Thomas More is somebody I hopefully once every year in June will do some sort of a reflection on this great human, this great saint, this great lawyer, because he is the patron saint of lawyers. He is a great hero for us to emulate in our personal lives and in our professional lives. So this is taken from a scene in A Man for All Seasons, the movie about Thomas More. So go watch that. I've got a link in the episode notes to a YouTube clip of this specific scene, and it's worth just going and watching. Just a great movie, but the clip to this specific scene is in the notes if you want to go check it out. But in this more scene, Thomas More is talking to Richie Rich. I love the irony of this particular name, because Richard Rich is all about prestige, honor. He wants a position of power. And so he is following More around early in the movie before ultimately turning on More and being a part of him being condemned to death, basically throwing More under the bus. But before that, because More is a man that has a lot of power, a lot of title and position, Rich is very interested in tagging along with More and hoping that More will help him get a leg up. So More says, the dean of St. Paul's offers you a post with a house, a servant, and 50 pounds a year. Rich replies, What post? More says, at a new school. Rich, a teacher? More, why not be a teacher? You'd be a fine teacher, perhaps even a great one. Rich, and if I was, who would know it? More responds, you, your pupils, your friends, God. Not a bad public, that. Oh, and a quiet life. This is, I think, something that we struggle with in the legal profession. There's just so much of this constant need to be looking for, patting ourselves on the back, to look for that next accolade, to look for that next accomplishment. Many lawyers, have gone through, a lot of schooling. I mean, just to get through law school is an incredible achievement. The field of lawyers, the profession, is filled with high achievers and people that are go-getters and people that want to make a difference, and I think sometimes be recognized for making a difference. And so you can somewhat maybe connect with Rich in this scene, even if we don't always want to admit that that's who we kind of want to connect with, because there is this kind of underlying mentality that Rich has, that even if I was a great teacher, who would know about it? And in our profession, maybe we could be a great lawyer, but then the ego wants to come in and say, well, who would know about it? I want to make sure that I'm on the super lawyers list. I want to make sure that I am on the, top 80 under 80 list. Whatever the net, I don't know how many, spam letters that I get over the course of a year telling me that if I pay, $400, I can be on the, top 75 under 75 list, or, the best 100 DWI lawyers in America, whatever the different organization is. And so there is just such a calling, such a draw to this. In his book, Judge Conrad has a little section on leading a significant life. He says, we should lead significant lives, but our significance, I'm going to start that over. We should lead significant lives, but our significance must be rightly ordered behind the significance of God. For only then can we discern our life's vocation and fulfill it in accord with his will. Don't be a Wolsey or Cromwell, working your whole life for the wrong things, a rich who would do so much for so little, or a king who would die a venerable death. Be a Moor, be a fisher. They pursued excellence in striving after God's providential will, nothing more, nothing less, nothing else. Having achieved extraordinary success, they demonstrated a remarkable willingness to let it all go in service to a higher calling. Neither man seemed more at peace than when confined to the tower. It seems that the source of their peace was beyond their achievements, that their achievements might in fact reflect their set purpose of bringing glory to God. I think this week, this Judges Conference week, is a great week to step back and ask the question, what does it mean for me to lead a significant life? I think that most of us, when asked, what is the most important thing in your life? What is the most important thing in your life? It would be some combination of friends, family, faith, God, my spiritual well-being, my mental health, my physical health. For most of us, I expect money would be relatively far down the list in terms of what we would speak. For most of us, I think that, honor or titles or prestige would be pretty far down the list if we were asked. Our pyramid, so to speak, of values, our hierarchy of things that are of import in our life would have family, friends, relationship with my wife, my children, relationship with those important in my life, my relationship with God. Those would all be at the top of the hierarchy. But we can really determine if we're living that value structure, if we're living that hierarchical structure based on where we spend our time. How much time are we spending developing that relationship with our spouse, with our children, with God, working on our mental health, working on our physical well-being? How much time are we spending on those things? If we don't get those things into the schedule, in a profession that has long been driven by the billable hour, in a profession where time is our greatest resource, and for every human being, time is your greatest resource because you can't get it back. You're not getting any more of it. If you take care of your physical health, maybe you actually could get a little bit more of it. So that's why that in particular may be an important one to focus on, but you're not getting that back. It's a non-renewable resource, time. So where are we spending our time? So I think that most of us have a pyramid where we say, here's the things that are at the top of the list. And then at the bottom of the list is, money, titles, all of these things. But so many of us, based on our time, and this has been me, so many of us have that pyramid flipped upside down. And even though we speak out loud, hey, here's the most important things in my life, we actually show, when you look at our schedule, what the most important things in our life are, which may be our business, which may be our our commitments, again, to organizations or to other people in the community that aren't as important as those primary relationships. Again, as none of these things are bad in and of themselves. It's not bad to have a financially secure future. It's not bad to be doing good in the community, for sure. But when we look at our schedule, is that rightly ordered? Hey, podcast listeners, I want to briefly interrupt today's episode to invite you to join me at the inaugural Freedom Fighter Summit in Asheville this October. This in-person only event is designed for growth-minded lawyers determined to take their criminal defense practice to the next level. Due to the size of the summit's venue, there are a limited number of seats available. Don't miss out on the incredible lineup of speakers and spectacular networking opportunity that this summit provides. For more details, visit www.miniclaw.com/summit. Enter the promo code NCDWI-GUY, all lowercase, all one word, at checkout for $150 off your summit ticket. Look forward to seeing you there. Now back to the show. And so when you go through this personal plan, one thing that I love about this, and it very much is in the same model of the one-page strategic plan that we talked about back on episode 68, that is done by Scaling Up. But this personal vision and traction statement done by EOS is just such a powerful thing, because it really, first of all, asks you to consider what the core values of your personal life are, or what the core values of your family are. What are the core values of your family? Really important to have that nailed down, because that should very much be then helping you to guide what your short and long-term goals are. It also asks about your passions. What brings you life? What brings you energy? If you haven't nailed down your core values and your passions, you cannot build a fulfilling life. You cannot build a life of purpose, a life that is purpose driven. So if nothing else, if you complete nothing else about this personal plan, sit down and identify your personal or family core values and your personal and or family passions. Identify those. There is a space for 5 under each. Fill those out. What is of ultimate import to you? That's your core values. What drives you? What fuels you? What gives you energy? That is your passions. Figure out those things first, and then you can move on with the rest of the plan. If you don't have core values and passions in place, you are not going to be able to build a meaningful plan that is a long-term success plan. The other big picture item that is on the list is a lifetime wish list. You know, what major vacations do you want to go on? Do you want to ride across the country with your family in a RV? Do you want to visit a specific country or city around the world? Do you want to start a charitable organization? Do you want to teach? Do you want to do something outside of the profession? Do you want to live in a specific location? All of these things you can sit down and think about. what is on my lifetime wish list? The bucket list is what most of us would think about it as. But what is on the bucket list? So once you have those big picture items in place, then the personal family vision traction plan through EOS very much mimics the one-page strategic plan that I went over. That is a tool from Scaling Up. And it's very powerful because it basically looks at 10-year target is what they call it. Again, Scaling Up refers to it as the big, hairy, audacious goal, your 10-year goal. And then that is broken down by EOS into a 3-year picture, a 1-year plan, your rocks, which is the next 90 days, and then a issues list. And so basically, once you've identified your core values and your passions, then you can start to build out who do I want to be in 10 years? Who do we want to be as a family in 10 years? How do we make sure we are on track to hit that 10-year target, that we are on course to hit that target in 3 years? What would it look like to be a third of the way to that goal in 3 years? Knowing what that 3-year picture looks like, what's the plan for this year? We start a new fiscal year July 1st. So, hey, just as good as a time as January 1st to start a plan. What is the 1-year plan? And in a lot of ways, as much as I put money at the bottom of our kind of like hierarchy of values, money is very much a part of this plan. Under each of the 3-year section, 1-year section, and rock section, basically first identifiable piece of that is what's the future date? And that's pretty easy. It's 3 years, 1 year, or 90 days from now. And then the second question is, the second and third identifiable things are income and net worth. What are you driving toward? What is your goal on that front? So again, this is not to say that money is not important in these things. Money provides the freedom to accomplish these goals and to live out the core values and passions of your firm. Again, it should not be something that you are enslaved to. It should be something that provides freedom. But it is an important part of the equation. It's just that it needs to be instead of being the master, money needs to be the servant. It needs to be allowing you to accomplish these goals that you have set down in your life. So, once you've mapped out core values, passions, looked at those long-term goals, to me, the real magic of the one-page personal plan or the personal family vision traction statement through EOS, as well as the one-page strategic plan for your business, is the rock section, because this is where you get to take action. This is where you get to take action. What happens so often, whether it's New Year's or we kind of get on this moment of like, hey, I want to change my life. We sit down and we fill out one of these sheets, or we come up with a plan, or we say, I'm going to accomplish these things in the next 90 days, or this is what, this is a new year and I'm going to start over. So we sit down and we think about what a ideal picture of our life would be, our spiritual life, our mental life, our physical life, our financial life. We sit down and we think about all of these, different aspects of our life. And so we start to plan. I'd say, okay, so maybe you're a planner and this really excites you. And you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down, map out my personal or my family's core values, passions. Here's the things that I've got on my bucket list. I'm excited to write those down and see those on paper. Here's the 10-year target. This is what life is going to look like in 10 years. I can further break that down and plan 3-year picture. Ooh, I got the 1-year plan ready to go. So here's what the next year is going to look like. And then you come to the rock section. And the beauty of the rock section is that there's no bullshitting with the rock section. There's no bullshitting. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the magic of the plan happens, because this is the action column of the plan. If you've mapped out the perfect life on paper, you map that out, it looks great. You're pumped, you're excited about this plan, and then you take 0 action, then you've just wasted a bunch of time. That's what's happened. You've wasted a bunch of time, probably set yourself up for some sort of disappointment in the future, because if you ever find that paper and you haven't filled out the rock section, and more importantly, acted on the rock section, then you're going to be very disappointed when you find this piece of paper a couple of years down the road, because you will not be any closer to those goals. The rock section, what's happening in the next 90 days, is the most important part of this page. These big goals that we have, the 10-year goals, living according to our core values, living according to our passions, is not something that happens in the future. It's something that we start working on now, chipping away at now. The next 90 days, this is in June, quarter number 3, from August until the end, from July until the end of September, these next 90 days, this is where the magic happens. If you want to have a more significant personal life, if you want to have a more fulfilled life, a more purpose-driven life, that's where it's going to happen. The next 90 days. You've got to set out these rocks, which are action items, things that you can judge yourself on, things that either got done or did not get done. And if you got them done, then you're one step closer to accomplishing that 10-year target. What I think I've realized as we have worked through our 1-page strategic plan in our business is that it's actually not some of these big, hairy, audacious goals that we have set for ourselves in terms of a 10-year target are not as difficult to achieve as originally thought. Some of our 3-year goals, some of our 1-year goals are not as difficult to achieve as we originally thought. And it's because we're so used to not taking action, not actually moving towards those goals, that, it just seems so big. We're so used to not walking, not moving, not taking the next step that, 5 steps down the road feels unbelievably complicated. And what I've noticed is that where the magics happen for us as a firm is in that rock section. It's the action, it's the doing of things, because when you are working away at these 90-day rocks, you're probably going to find that you didn't set your 3-year and 10-year goals high enough. You didn't plan well enough, because we're just so used to not moving towards those goals. We like to set big goals and then take no action. And that's why they seem like big goals, because it's like, well, I didn't get that done, didn't accomplish that. But it's because we never started moving towards it. So these next 3 months, July until the end of September, this is where the magic can happen for you. Don't waste quarter number 3 of 2023. Don't waste this time. Take a moment, whether it's during this judges conference week, whatever your summer vacation plans look like, take a day away from the office, step back and detach. from the madness of your career, from the madness of the profession that we are a part of, from the madness of the day-to-day life. Take a step back, detach, and map out what living a significant life looks like. Don't waste this opportunity. If we don't take advantage of this, this is something that each of us will regret down the road, well before our deathbed. Don't want to look back again and realize that you spent your time going after the wrong things, going after the things that weren't even priorities on your own hierarchical pyramid. Don't let the upside down pyramid run your life. Have your values aligned in the right order, serving higher values. Don't waste this time. Take action and live a significant life.